Okay. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Flatiron School. Super excited to be here for your day one. And I'll be here for the rest of your 20 weeks of this program. So today's orientation, tomorrow, and we'll go through the calendar again at the end, but tomorrow you have a meet your classmates session where you all will get to know each other and, get to know who you'll be doing this program with over the next 4+ months. So look out for that. But let's see what we're going to talk about today. This is our agenda. We're going to talk very briefly about, the administrative systems that you'll be working with, Flatiron Student Portal and Canvas. I'll talk very briefly about curriculum. We'll go more into curriculum in the coming days. I'll introduce your support team, of which mostly will be myself, Ish, and Dara, who's also on this call. Then we're going to talk about expectations, community, and then some things to get us started. Just to let you all know, I'm the kind of person that likes to be interrupted. So if you have any questions at any point, just feel free to unmute yourself and jump right in. All right, so just to talk about our student systems, there are two main systems. For the most part, we'll be using Canvas. You'll mostly be on Canvas. That's where all of our module material is. That's where our homeroom is. So mostly that. But then to log into Canvas, you'll be greeted with the Flatiron School Student Portal. So whenever you're logging into anything, if you ever need to change your password or see the documents that you had signed before you joined the program, that's all there. So this is what the sign-in page to access your student portal looks like. If you are here and if you've seen homeroom, you've likely already signed in, so that's great. And this is what our student portal looks like. So here you can see, I believe these are the catalogs that you signed right before starting the program, your enrollment agreement, your catalog, which is sort of like our student handbook. So yeah, if you need to change your password, I think you can manage account here. If you ever needed to check, what GitHub account your Flatiron School account is connected to, you would do that here. All right, next up, let's talk about Canvas. And Canvas can be a little bit confusing to start, but we'll get more and more acquainted with this as the days go. So first we have our homeroom course, and the homeroom course is where we have our calendar. I will write our weekly to-dos on the homeroom. Any announcements, any important links, that will all go on the homeroom. I like to also put resources, like a collection of resources on the homeroom as well. So really good idea. I think if you want to bookmark any one of these pages in your browser, the homeroom is a good one to bookmark. Other than the homeroom course, this is just the way that Canvas is set up. Each of our phases are going to be on a different course. So currently we're only on phase 1, and I'll show you all homeroom in a little bit, but phase 1 is a course that you can access through Canvas. I've also linked phase 1 from the homeroom. So I think you just mainly have to bookmark the homeroom and you can access all of your phase courses. But yeah, this is what our homeroom looks like. Every single week, I'll be updating all of these notes. If there are any important events, if there are any changes to the schedule. I know there's a couple public holidays coming up. So if there are any changes to that will be noted on the homeroom. And I'll also remind you all during our study group sessions and also on Slack. As we get into material, these quick links are going to grow. So right now we don't have a recordings playlist, but this session and every other session we're going to have, they're all going to be added to a YouTube playlist, which I will link here after today. Here you can see, everything important for this week is noted here. We have our quick links. If you click this link here, it actually brings you to our phase 1 content, so you don't have to, switch courses all the time. I also have my booking link hyperlinked here, as well as our cohort Zoom link. So every time we meet as a cohort, it will be on the same Zoom link, except for tomorrow. But almost all the sessions will be on the same Zoom link. This Zoom link is actually open to you all as well. So even if we're not meeting with me, and if you all just want a space to talk to each other, I will be pairing you guys up for group projects in the future. So if you ever just want a space to, meet each other, maybe you just want to chill and hang out together, you can use this Zoom link as well. This Zoom room will always be open. This is just a screenshot, but I'll go into homeroom. I'll go into our real homeroom later, but you can see here our class calendar is also embedded here. It's a Google Calendar. So if any of you already use Google Calendar, you can actually add our class meeting sessions to your own Google Calendar. I'll show you all how to do that later. But basically, the calendar will tell you what week we're on, because, sometimes we forget what week we're on. And also every single study group, every single event will be on the calendar. And I will update these usually before the start of every phase. So yeah, there are a couple of different colors. Later on, I'll talk about what the different colors on the calendar mean. Okay, now this is the page of our phase 1 material. If we go back here, if you click onto the phase 1 content, it will bring you straight to this page here where you can start working on material. This is where you'll find all our curriculum content. You can sort of think of this phase course as like a textbook / workbook. I believe some of you did your pre-work on this as well, exactly the same. And later I'll go into more details on like my tips and tricks for working through material in this kind of fast-paced course. If anyone has had difficulty accessing Canvas, please let me know as soon as possible, either via Slack, or if you're also having trouble getting onto Slack, my email should be CC'd on a welcome email that you got last week. All right. So just to see what our next 20 weeks are going to look like, our curriculum is split up into 5 phases, 4 weeks each. So right now we're going to start getting into phase 1 later this week, introduction to Python and data with Python and SQL. And then every 4 weeks will be a new phase. So the next phase, we're going to be going into more statistics, hypothesis testing, linear regression. Phase 3, we get into machine learning. Phase 4, we get into big data, deep learning, natural language processing. And then phase 5 is a capstone project. So each of these phases are going to be 3 weeks of material and 1 week of working on a project. So it'll be 3 weeks of study groups where I'll be talking through material, and then 1 week that you'll just be working on a project. With the exception of the very last phase, where all 4 weeks are spent working on a larger scale project that you'll graduate the program with. All right, any questions at this point? All right. So all of these dates are reflected on the class calendar, so no need to take them down. Also, I will let you all know whenever there's a holiday coming up. But today we start our cohort on 5/17. In 2 Mondays from now, it's already going to be, I think, Memorial Day. The other holidays that we have coming up, I think I remember them all. We actually have Juneteenth off. I believe that's a Friday. This is a Monday off in lieu of 4th of July. I think 4th of July this year is on a Sunday. So therefore, this is a Monday. I want to say this is Labor Day. We also have a holiday in November. I want to say, is that Veterans Day, or I don't remember. There's another holiday. Oh, Indigenous Peoples Day. That's what that one is. And then you'll be all graduated by mid-November. Looks like a long time, but the time is really going to fly by. One more thing to note is there is actually a cohort break in between phases 2 and 3. There's just a 1 week break for, you all to have a breather. Burnout really happens. So take this 1 week break. I'll remind you all when that 1 week break comes along to, take that break. So yeah, all these dates are on the class calendar as well. All right, so just as an overview and to really set the tone, what are we really learning in this program? And I think something that really sets this program aside from other programs is it really teaches us how to think like a data scientist. There's a lot of material, a lot of new advancements that are happening. Even in the last 2 years, so much has changed in the field of data science that, what we're really training you all to be is to be more adaptable, to all of the changing technologies. Yes, there's going to be a little bit of okay, how are we going to code in Python? How do we understand machine learning? But, all of these things are likely to change in the next 5-10 years. So, training your mindset to be more adaptable and training your mindset to be, training your brain to just be better at learning new things rather than learning these specific things. That's the real goal here. Of course, we'll do that by ways of learning what's, currently what the current technology really is. But yeah, what we're training here is how to think like a data scientist. So a lot of the steps, here, these main 4 things that we're going to talk about here, reading the error message, Googling or using Stack Overflow, Stack Overflow, by the way, is sort of like a forum of like answers. If anyone's seen like Yahoo Answers, that's kind of like what it is, but more serious for coding things. Just reaching out to your cohort via Slack and reaching out to me via Slack. As you notice, like none of these things are concrete like things that we learn in the field of data science or coding. These are the kinds of skills that you're going to really learn how to hone in on and build up over this next 4 months. I really like this little comic. If something doesn't work, you stare at it for a second, and you're like, why? Why does that work? I think that traditional learning is very much like this first panel, where, you know, if you're hitting an error, you're going to just work towards figuring it out. I think that in programming and in coding, it's more like the second panel. It works, but why does it work? This, I think, is a little bit different from how a lot of us are used to learning. I think when I was, you know, picking up coding, this is something that I struggled with a little bit, because there's a lot of resources out there that actually give you the answer and show you exactly how to do a specific task. The hard part is, you know, understanding why these methods work over maybe what you were trying beforehand. So there's this whole idea of productive failure, which is a learning technique that has been shown to increase long-term learning. Productive failure is what we're really going to lean in on in this program. Every error message you run into is going to help you in the long run. All right, and introducing your support team. There's going to be the cohort lead, who is me, and I'll introduce myself in a little bit. And there's also your community lead, Dara. And Dara, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Sure. Hey, everyone. I'm Dara. I am a community lead here at Flatiron. And my goal is really to help you all get off to a strong start as you're getting started on the boot camp. So we'll work together to get everybody connected and build a supportive community here that will really help all of you reach your learning goals together. So I'm looking forward to getting to know you all a little bit more in our Meet Your Classmates gathering tomorrow, which we're actually going to do on another app than Zoom. So I'll make sure I put the link in our in your calendar, but I'll also make sure to share it in Slack so that everybody is aware of where we're going and what we're doing. So we're gonna have a little fun with that tomorrow, and I'll be back to talk to you a bit about community in a few minutes.
Thanks so much, Dara. So yeah, I will be your cohort lead. A little bit about myself. Almost 3 years ago now, I was actually right where you are. I actually did the Flatiron School program as a student close to 3 years ago. I did the program in person in New York. I fell in love with the material and like talking about the material, and I've been teaching at Flatiron School ever since. So yeah, more than happy to talk about, you know, my experiences as a student. I think a lot of like my teaching philosophy comes from my experience, like absorbing this material at a really, really fast pace. Important to know also, like prior to me doing this program 3 years ago, I had zero coding experience. And since becoming an instructor at Flatiron School, yes, I've been able to, you know, hone in my skills as a data science instructor, but also I've been able to, you know, take up contract work, part-time work, doing all sorts of fun machine learning things on the side. So yeah, happy to talk about any of my experiences if any of you are curious about that. Awesome. So actually, it says starting in week 2, but I saw that some of you already booked one-on-ones with me for this week. So I'm very excited to just get that ball rolling. Every week you get to schedule a one-on-one with me. What the one-on-ones look like can really differ student to student. Here it says, you know, ask questions, knowledge checks, and pair program. I would say most of the one-on-ones look like, especially when we get more into the program, over the week, just collect a list of questions of things that you're working on or things that you're not sure of and ask me. That's a lot of what one-on-ones look like. One-on-ones can also look like, you know, maybe walking through some processes in data science that are maybe less clear. Even if you feel like you have no questions, it's a really good idea to still book one-on-ones, because I have a bunch of like, not tests, but think of them as like little knowledge checks, where I can give you guys like a couple like coding questions to see how you work through them. Don't think of it as like, I'm not assessing you. Well, kind of, but this is not a test. I just want to check that you are able to, you know, apply the things that we've learned so far, and these little coding examples that I will give you all if you have no questions during your one-on-ones. So look forward to those. But yeah, during these one-on-ones, they're really open for whatever questions you have regarding like curriculum content, regarding your program, where you stand in the program. I'm open and more than happy to talk about whatever it is you need to talk about. All right, I think this slide is Dara's.
Awesome. Thanks, Ish. So want to just jump in and talk to you a little bit about community and a little bit about like what your journey here at the boot camp is going to look like. And so this emotional journey of creating anything great is sort of a great illustration for not only what your experience here will be like, but you know, most of our experiences whenever we do something challenging, whenever we take on something new. And so most people start out over there on the left-hand side at, this is the best idea ever. I'm imagining that many, if not all of you, are kind of feeling like that today, right? A little bit excited, kind of nervous, excited to move forward and learn all of the new things that you've come here to learn. And most of us expect this really nice, steady uphill journey from A to B, where, you know, we start out excited and then we get to this is one of the things I'm most proud of doing, right? But for most of us, the journey actually looks more like the bumpy, curvy line you see on the screen here. There are twists, there are turns, there are bumps along the way. That is a normal, emphasis on normal, part of taking on any sort of new challenge. But I have some incredible news for everybody here. This cohort, all of the people that are here today, we've got a few folks that aren't able to join us. You all are the bridge across the dark swamp. So should anybody find themselves, you know, there will come a point where you'll get to the point and you'll say, oh wow, this is harder than I thought it was going to be. This is maybe tougher than I expected. And if you find yourself kind of sliding down that slope, and if you're ever in danger of falling into that dark swamp, we are all here to catch you. We are all here to help you hop on the bridge and walk across. So this is the place to reach out for help, to ask for support when you need it. When things get tough, when you get to like this, you know, that this is harder than I thought it was going to be point, post in the cohort Slack channel, reach out to a fellow student individually, let Ish know what's going on and that you're having a tough time. Everybody is here to help and support one another. So, you know, that's why we're all here, but nobody will know unless you tell us what's happening, unless you speak up. So this is a really challenging program. We don't call it a boot camp for no reason. Every single one of you are here to learn. We don't expect you to know everything coming in, but we do expect you to rely on and support each other. That's what this group is here for. Everybody will get much further together than you would get on your own as an island. So ask questions, ask for help when you're feeling confused or frustrated, or you can't figure out, you know, why you got the error that you got. More often than not, if you have a question about something, there's at least one other student who's got the same question, or perhaps somebody that's run into the same problem, figured it out, and can jump in and help you. So when you're asking for help, you're going to be helping the other folks in your cohort as well. So just know that this is a place to dive in and ask those questions when you need to. And also remember that you're a member of this community now, and your community is here to help you succeed. So success is all about building good study habits so that you can get the most out of this boot camp, learning how to show up professionally so that you're prepared to step into the professional world of data science one day, right? And building your community here at Flatiron, because these connections that you make here are not going to end at graduation. These are your first colleagues in the field. So take this opportunity, make those connections. I definitely want to encourage you all to join us for, as I mentioned before, Meet Your Classmates. Tomorrow, it'll be a great first opportunity for you all to get to know each other. Like I said, we're not going to use Zoom. We're going to use this new app that the community team found called Gather Round to get to know each other, which I think will be really fun. So hope to see you all tomorrow at let's see, it's 11 a.m. Pacific, which means that it's 2 p.m. Eastern. Am I doing that math right? Yes, I think I am. So look forward to seeing you all then.
Thank you, Dara. Yeah, I cannot emphasize more how important community is. In my like 2 years of teaching at Flatiron, so many of the students have gotten jobs from other cohort mates, which is pretty incredible. Like there are several companies out there that have like a small enclave of Flatiron School students because the community is strong. I do recognize that it is a little bit harder in the online space, but it will pay off. It's very, very worthwhile. All right. With that, let's talk about expectations for this program. We'll talk about code of conduct, graduation requirements, what our week in the life looks like, blogging, projects, and our repeat policy. So first, this is our code of conduct. So Flatiron School believes that our community should be open for everyone. We are committed to providing a friendly, safe, and welcoming environment for all, regardless of gender, sexual orientation, disability, ethnicity, religion, preferred operating system, programming language, or text editor. The idea of learning together as a community is baked into the Flatiron philosophy, and we strive to be a place where we can achieve more together than we could ever achieve alone. So we do expect all faculty, teachers, employees, mentors, students, guests, friends, everyone involved with the school to help create a safe and positive environment for everybody. All right, so into graduation requirements. Not that complicated. First, you have to pass all 5 project reviews in order. As I mentioned, every phase has a project, and also to publish 4 blog posts. And blog posts, I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But this is what our week in the life looks like. So as you can see here, this Monday through Sunday looks a little intense, but every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we'll have our 2 p.m. Eastern study groups. And those will basically be, you know, recaps, or they'll sort of complement the material that you're working through on Canvas. Every 4th Monday, new lessons will be released on Canvas for the start of each phase. And then also something else I wanted to point out is every Friday after our study, we're going to do a weekly pulse check just to check in to see how we're all doing. We're going to do that as a group. I do think it's very important to see where we are all at with each other. The expectation here is that your weekly lessons will be completed by the end of the week before the new week begins. Of course, I understand that everyone's schedule is a little bit different. And at each of your first one-on-ones, I'll go into talking about, you know, how you can work with this program's material best with your schedule. But for the most part, if you can get whatever study group materials there are, so it's usually 3 to 4 topics done by the end of the week, that's kind of where the expectation is. But again, it is flexible based on what your schedule looks like. All right, so blogging. Basically from phases 1 through 4, you will have to submit a blog by the end of the phase. What this blog is, it just has to be your writing about any data science topic. I will say some of the most common blog topics that people have written about, usually alongside one of their projects. They sort of talk about what their thought processes were, or maybe just their process overall with working with their data science project. Or if you discover something, you know, while you're working your project or while you're working through material, if there's something that you find slightly interesting that you want to explore more and write about, you can turn that into a blog post. So some examples of those kinds of blogs are, I've seen some pretty good ones talking about, like, you know, the ethical implications of certain things in data science. Like, what does it mean to, you know, mess with all of this data? Maybe something about the data science job landscape as a whole, stuff like that. As we get more into material, I'll offer more in-depth specific suggestions with blog posts as we get closer to, you know, the end of this phase. So yeah, they can really be about any data science related topic. Doesn't have to be like full technical either. All right, so next thing I want to talk about is the end of phase projects. So these will be your portfolio projects. These will be projects that will go on your resume as you look for your next job. And with portfolio projects, there are also project reviews. So within portfolio projects, it really depends on what the phase content is. And with each project, there's like a rubric that we will talk about together. There are some requirements that we'll talk about together that you have to satisfy for each project. Some of the projects are completely, what's the word? You're given a project prompt by Flatiron School and you're going to do that project. And for some projects, you do have the flexibility to do something that you are more interested in on your own. So we can talk about that, of course, when we get there. But by the end of this program, you will have 5 portfolio projects to go on your resume or on your LinkedIn, and those always look great. With portfolio projects, there are also project reviews. So project reviews are something that you will do with me. So I am in charge of grading your project, looking at your code to make sure that everything is up to par. And as part of that, you will also be presenting your projects in a non-technical presentation. Again, details to come when we get to our first project. During this project review, you'll have to explain your code, talk about the processes that you're taking, talk about maybe what you were thinking of as you were doing these processes, why you decided to make this decision instead of something else. Basically, you pitching your project to me. And those are always fun for me because I get to see, how your brain works with the material. And even though a lot of the projects have been very similar over the past 2 years, every person has a different take or a different perspective on every project that's been done. So I'm really excited to see what you all come up with. So for projects, the due date for projects, basically, like I mentioned, it's like 4 weeks per phase, of which the last week is your project week. The 2 weeks after the project week is when you'll do your project review. When we get to our first project, I will explain all of this scheduling again. So not to worry about that for now. One thing is if you fail to pass a project, you might be asked to repeat the phase. So what if you can't keep up with the cohort? If you don't pass your project review, this is our phase repeat policy that I'm going to read through. So at the end of each phase of the curriculum, you're required to pass a final assessment to demonstrate mastery of the content covered in the phase and preparedness to move forward into the following phase. So that for you all will be these end of phase projects. If you fail to pass an evaluation within the allotted time frame, and for us, the time frame is actually going to be 2 weeks after that 4th week. Again, I'll give you all specific dates for each project when we get there. You will be required to repeat the phase in full by transferring to a new cohort. There is no additional charge to repeat one phase once. I really do want to normalize like the phase repeating. I think a lot of people feel, I don't know, it's normal to feel like, I can't keep up, therefore I had to repeat this phase, but coding is really, really hard. I do want to normalize that, like, you're learning a completely new skill. There's no shame in having to repeat a phase. So terms of repeating a phase and also your options for changing paces. So just as a quick example, you are in the full-time data science program, there is an option to transfer into like a part-time data science cohort. This is something that we will discuss at like a one-on-one if you think that, maybe this phase is too fast. They're going to vary based on which version of the catalog you signed at enrollment. So again, it's going to be different for some students. So definitely, if this is something that you're thinking about, we can talk about it at a one-on-one. But yeah, main thing here is that there is no additional charge to repeat one phase once. Cool. So to talk about community, I think we talked about how important community is. Dara, again, will be doing your Meet Your Classmates tomorrow at this same time. Highly, highly recommend that you do that and just meet each other. I will be getting to meet each one of you at one-on-ones and study groups, but there is not as much opportunity for you all to interact with each other. And so I really, really want to foster that. A lot of your projects will actually be done in pairs. So look out for that. I'm excited to see that interaction. I will be taking into account time zones as well when I'm pairing you all up. So not to worry. So where are we going to find community? I think the main place where we can really build our community is through Slack. Again, if any of you don't have access to our Slack channel, and basically the correct Slack channel is the one that has our cohort channel, and you saw my message telling you all, welcome to the program, and I sent you all like a Zoom link to this. If you have trouble finding that, I know a couple people have, or I think a lot of you are on the Flatiron community Slack workspace. which is different from the one that we're going to be using going forward. So if you're not too sure about Slack or if you're in the right place or not, do let me know. If you don't have access to that, you probably can't reach me via Slack. So via email works as well. Cool. So Slack will be our water cooler. There we'll throw in some like fun, get to know each other prompts in there once in a while. I will also be doing Slack stand-ups once a week. More about that in a little bit. And if you have any questions about material that you're working through, I do think it's a really good idea to put them in our class channel, just so you all can see what others are running into. Maybe you can help each other out. I do answer questions off of Slack as well, but I'm also only one person, and a lot of my day is having one-on-ones with students. So I might not get to your question on Slack immediately, but the other, how many of you are here? The other 10 or so of you are going to be on the channel as well. All right, so yeah, Slack is organized in channels. I will also send out a message telling you about our affinity channels. So that's actually linked here. We have the student-led affinity group Slack channels. So if you identify with any of these groups, feel free to join them. I'll post a message in Slack so you can directly click into those channels. What else do I want to mention? Oh, if you're working off hours and you have a time-sensitive question, one thing that you can do is tag DS Support Squad. So tagging DS Support Squad will basically notify every data science instructor of your question. So use that lightly. Use that only if it's an emergency, really, or a really time-sensitive question. Or if there's a specific day that I'm not around, then use that. But tagging DS Support Squad will notify all of our instructors who are here. This is our Flatiron School online data science team. I am only one of 10. And all of these other instructors, you will probably meet once, and you'll probably meet soon somehow. They often fill in. We often fill in for each other if like our schedules don't work out. So yeah, you'll probably see their faces around. I also want to point out Matt and Ben are actually two of our technical coaches. So they usually work later hours, and they don't have cohorts of their own, and their job is to basically answer questions off hours. So my work hours are roughly 10 to 7. But after those hours, if you have questions or if you're working on stuff, you'll actually see Matt or Ben pop into our channel saying, happy Monday evening. And that means that they're online. So if you have any questions, later in the day or on weekends even, and if you see them in our channel, that means that you can ask them questions and they'll be there to answer your questions. Cool. I think, is that the last slide? That's it. So checklist for week 1, as we wrap up this orientation. I do want to talk about some other stuff right after this, so don't go. So in getting started, Meet Your Classmates is going to happen tomorrow. Don't forget, Dara will post the link into our Slack channel tomorrow when it's time for that. Say hi in Slack. There's a thread going on right now where we're sharing where we live and our favorite ice cream flavors. If you haven't yet, and I've seen a good amount of you have already done this, you can schedule your first one-on-one with me. In a little bit, I'm going to go onto our homeroom and show you all where that is, specifically. I'll show you all where our cohort calendar is and important dates. And feel free to get started on lessons and labs. Again, I'm going to, in a little bit, talk about our more specifically how to work with Canvas. But yeah, that's all with this slide deck. Does anyone have any overall program questions at this point? All right. Well, if there are questions, that's fine. If you think of any questions going forward, feel free to.
Actually, yeah, I do actually have a question. I can't seem to get into Slack.
Okay.
The school one. It won't let me sign up for it.
Okay. I have your email, so let me figure out what's going on back there, and I will let you know. You should get. Yeah.
I found the one that it says gives me the invitation.
Okay.
But it doesn't seem to let me register for anything other than the community one.
Interesting. All right, let me look into it. I'll reach out to you via email since you're not on Slack. I'll reach out to you via email and see what's going on. Thanks, Justin.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, let me make a note of that real quick. Any other questions before we before we move on?
I'm in the same boat as Justin in that
Okay.
I'm only in the, I don't have the, I'm not on the correct channel for our cohort. Like I haven't seen anything for our cohort. I'm in the community, I think, but I'm in the community, but not the school.
Okay. I will also, Jojo, I also have your email on my end, so I will reach out and see what's going on there.
Okay.
I had that same problem and I solved it this morning by going to the webpage slack.com, and then I logged in with my email that's connected to the community forum, and you can request to join a new Slack channel. And I don't remember exactly how I did it, but if you go in and you try to join a new Slack channel, I fixed this problem this morning. So if I could go back and try to figure it out, and I'll send an email about how I did it.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks
Okay.
so much, Taylor.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there right now, but I will look into it because I think you all should have been automatically added to the channel, but I will double check. And since I have your emails in a list somewhere, I can look into that for you all. But thank you so much, Taylor, as well. Cool. Anyone else having Slack problems? All right. I will also do a check to make sure that everyone in this cohort is in our Slack channel, just in case. Cool. Thanks for that. It's good for me to know what's going on. All right. Well, that's all.
I found it.
Oh, you found it? Okay.
Yeah, found it. You go to create on the Slack webpage, you go to the create new workspace, and it puts up a list of communities you've been invited, and you just click join.
Perfect. Awesome. Jojo, let me know if that doesn't still work. But if it does work, you should be automatically added to our class channel. Maybe Justin, if you can check if you're in like a hashtag online full-time 517.
Yep, it's there. Yep, it's there in the browser. I just now need to check and see if it's in the app. But yeah, that seems to be what happened, is somehow it launched the app, the program, and it launched it to the communities one, but it never gave me the invite link to click join to join the Flatiron School one. And I had to go into the actual web page to do it. Okay. I'm glad that you've got it figured out, Justin. Jojo, I'll look out to see if you get added to the channel, because that'll signify whether it worked or not.
Love all of the like group troubleshooting and collaboration happening already. This is awesome.
I know it's a really good sign. All right. Anything else before we move on? I'm going to talk about navigating Canvas, things about that. And even though we don't start material until Wednesday, I do want to talk about some of my like study tips to wrap up for today. All right. Well, Dara, feel free to stay if you'd like. But I'm going to move on to talk about Canvas in our homeroom. Okay. So I've actually put the link to homeroom at the very top of our Slack channel. So Slack channel at the top part, basically it says it hyperlinks to our homeroom just for easy access. Again, I do think it's a good idea if you want to bookmark a page to bookmark this page, because this is where every important thing will be. All of these to-dos on the side, these are automatically generated. So I actually don't really control these, so you can mark them as complete whenever you're done with those. It's good to just see what it is you have to do. Every week, I will be updating material here. So for example, after today's session, I'm going to go in and I'm actually going to say for topics 1 through 3, what are some of the priorities for working on material? Because, and we'll look at it in a little bit, there's a lot there. So I'll be talking about some of the priorities, some of the things that are like better, or if you feel like you're short on time or you're feeling overwhelmed by material, what to focus in more on. Yeah, all of these important things are linked here. Also, in terms of quick links, I have my one-on-one booking link. And just to show you all, there are 2 different kinds of booking links. First, there's my one-on-one link, which is the half-an-hour link that you should do every week. And there's also a project review link, which don't do for now. this will be for your actual project reviews. So these will book actually like hour-long slots, which we don't need at this point. So just to let you all know, if you're booking a one-on-one, you click onto this one. I think it will also have you do the right time zone. So they will actually show times in whatever time zone you pick here. So just choose whichever time zone you are in. I think that's the easiest. I've had a couple of students try and set Eastern time, and then you get confused with like my time zone. So for this, let's say if I am in Pacific time, all of these time slots will be in your time zone. So I don't actually work at 7 a.m., but it will be my 10 a.m. So pick your time zone, but all of these availability will be translated into my time zone on my end, if that makes sense. I don't know if that made, if that explanation made everything more complicated, but that's how you use the booking link. What else? All right, as I mentioned, the phase 1 content is hyperlinked here. So when you click into this, it'll bring you straight to all of the material here. And actually, let me put it in student view because it looks slightly different. This is all your content. So feel free to start working through this as you like. As I mentioned, it's roughly 1 topic per day. And we'll take a look at the calendar in a little bit to talk about pacing. But this is where you'll be working on stuff. For most things, you can actually like mark them as complete as you are working through specific labs and lessons. And as you can see, for some of them, you know, it gets kind of long. So I will be talking about, all right, what are some of the labs that you can deprioritize for the time being if you're feeling overwhelmed? One other thing to know is that you're actually going to have lifelong access to this material. So even after you graduate, you will get to access in some form, you'll get to access this material. So don't worry if you don't get to everything now. 100% okay to leave some things for later. And what these some things that you can leave for later are, I will mention as we get to them. So make sure you have access to this. Also, this is our cohort calendar. So everything in blue is a cohort meeting time. So for example, this is our orientation where the Zoom link is here. These are our 3 study groups for later this week, all linked here. These are our Zoom links. It's actually all the same Zoom link. So if you were to click onto our cohort Zoom link here, it will be the same one. These other events in purple, they're just other Flatiron school-wide events. So there are a bunch of different things here. For example, there are going to be workshops once in a while. So here, there's a workshop on slaying the dragon of perfectionism. There are a bunch of other events. Let's see, I think every week there are going to be a couple, building strong habits. Yeah, a bunch of events all around. All of our holidays are also on this calendar. And if you already use Google Calendar and you want to integrate this with your own, you can do that by clicking the plus Google Calendar button here. Well, this is my calendar, which is different from yours, but it will add to your calendar.
Ish, can I jump in really quickly and plug those workshops?
Yeah.
So I do want to encourage all of you to please attend any of the workshops or guest lectures or events that you see on the calendar. They are there for you. The workshops in particular are fantastic, especially for our newest students. The topics for those workshops were designed with all of you in mind. So we've got workshops on everything from building good study habits to, you know, how to get more comfortable asking questions and asking for help. Things around like imposter syndrome, which is something that comes up for our newest students, perfectionism, which you'll see Talia is hosting one later this week. So please take advantage of those. If you're able, you know, if you see a workshop that you're like, ooh, that sounds like it would be really helpful and great, please go. That's what they're there for.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of really great feedback from students who've gone to these workshops, even though they're not, you know, they're not like technical. It's not like, you know, our curriculum material, but it's very, very important to develop, you know, tech-specific soft skills as well. And these workshops really do help with building those up. And also not just like tech-specific soft skills, but also, you know, how you can learn more effectively. I think that's also something that is a huge benefit from these workshops. All right, let's see what else. So I will hyperlink the recordings playlist once that is done, because this will be our first video on there. So that will be linked in a little bit. Also, I like to throw resources in here. Right now, we're still at phase 1. I won't talk about these now. I'll talk about these on Wednesday so that we're not overwhelmed with just too much stuff. But any additional resources across the phase, I will throw in here. Okay. any questions before I talk about my like tips and tricks and like things that I've learned from all of my students from like working through material? Because I'm going to start talking about like more specific things now. All right. So this is the material that you're going to be working through almost every day. I do want to point out that every topic has a couple of videos, and the videos are just thrown in wherever appropriate. And I do want to mention like the context of these videos and what these are. So these videos are actually pretty new. These videos have only been introduced within the last, I think only the last cohort that began. And so what these videos are is Flatiron School is actually shifting to a model where you have these video lectures. And we are lucky enough to be kind of in like that beta testing period where we get to benefit from, these video lectures while also having, study groups that I run. So these videos are all embedded here. It really, like whether you use them or not, I think it really depends on what kind of learner you are. I do think that it is important over this next first few weeks of the program that you sort of figure out your groove of learning. Different people learn differently. If you find that you like learning through videos or through like watching someone walk through stuff, these might be helpful. If you find that you learn more effectively through doing, then maybe they'll be good to like see in the background, but maybe you end up working more on these labs and lessons. So it really depends on what you find more comfortable with. I would say, yeah, in these first few weeks, figure out what works better for you. I can tell you from my experience, I'm definitely a more learn by doing person. So these videos, I like to play, maybe while I'm multitasking, or maybe when I really hit something that I'm working on my own that I find, okay, I really need to see someone talk about this specific thing. These videos do have, what do you call those? Like, they're like timestamps, so you can go to specific sections, so you don't have to watch like an entire like 1 hour long video. So yeah, these videos are here as like an additional resource to complement this material. If there's a video that I think has a very specific unique thing that I do encourage you all to watch, I will let you all know as well. But yeah, for context, these videos are actually recorded lectures from, I think they're from one of our campus cohorts. So if you're wondering what that's all about. Cool. In terms of like when to tackle material in relation to study groups, again, it's something that is different for every student. I find that some students like to work through as much material as possible before the related study group. So in the calendar here, it actually says which study group is going to be on which topic. So for example, Wednesday is topic 1. Some people like to finish topic 1 in the curriculum before going to study group, while some people like to go to study group first, then work on curriculum material. Whichever way you want to do it really depends on you and how you think you learn better. I will say for myself, I actually prefer it for the first time I hear about something to be from someone else, like a study group, and then I work on material, but some people are different. So it's really up to you to decide, or slowly over these first few weeks, figure it out. What else? Ooh, okay. Solutions. There's no shame in looking up solutions for lessons, especially with anything coding. There's this whole idea of open source. That is what makes coding so accessible, I think. It's making coding a lot more accessible to everybody nowadays. And there's no like copyright, or not in the traditional sense, at least. So if you're working on a lab and you get stuck and maybe you don't feel like asking someone for help and you just want to see how it's done, the solutions are available. So the way that you find solutions, just as a quick example, let's just go to this one. So you'll click into the lab. You can work on the lab here. When you launch the lab, you can do it on this Illumidesk server, of which I'll talk a little bit more about like what this is actually doing in another study group. But yeah, you can work on it here. So let's say you're working on it here, and then, ooh, I got stuck on this cell here. I'm not sure what to do here. What you can do is click on the little OctoCat symbol. So this is actually GitHub's logo. It's actually an octocat. It's like a cat with a little octopus tail. So if you click on there, you'll see pretty much the exact same material that showed up in your lab, but to find the solutions, you actually click this little master button here, click on solution, and then when you scroll down, this will have your solutions. So again, there's no shame in looking up solutions. I will say that a lot of students, myself included, I've actually found it more efficient learning to do my labs side by side with the solutions. Doesn't mean that you can just copy and paste everything and be like done, because that does not benefit anyone. When you're looking at solutions and doing the work at the same time, I highly recommend that you take notes, write comments about, explaining what it is that you were copying and pasting over. Again, I'll get into more detail when we get more into these labs and lessons. But yeah, just wanted to point out, this is where solutions are in case you ever get stuck on anything. And there's no shame in referring to these solutions. I will say, because of the fast-paced nature of this course, if you find yourself stuck on anything for more than half an hour, and I feel like more than half an hour is a good amount of time to wait before asking someone for help, or like Googling for something, or looking for solutions somewhere. More than half an hour, I feel like, yeah, in this kind of fast-paced course, there's not as much time for that. And also when it comes to like Googling, you can Google anything. Even in data science interviews, a lot of times you are allowed to Google for things. If they're making you code something on the spot, you will be allowed to Google how to use a specific like method or function. So no shame in Googling, no shame in looking at solutions, no shame in asking for help. Just really want to emphasize that. But yeah, that is all I had to say about working through material. We will have our very first study group on Wednesday. So up to you if you want to get started with the material now. Usually I say, like, for the first week, I like to let students take it a little bit more chill to like just get acquainted with, working on a routine and schedules and all that. So yeah. All right, that's all I had to share. Does anyone have any questions before we close out for the day? Very nice. Well, I'm excited to get started with you all. It's going to be a really fun and exciting 20 weeks. Any questions that you all have, feel free to Slack me. And again, I will double check that everyone is on Slack as they're supposed to be. And then, yeah, if there's nothing else, I hope you all see each other at Meet Your Classmates tomorrow. I'll post some reminders about that. And if not, I will see you back here on Wednesday. All right. Well,
Everybody,
bye everyone. Have a good rest of your week and rest of your day.
see you tomorrow. Meet your classmates.
Yeah. Bye everyone.
Bye.